when you were getting into the entrepreneur life? Did it choose you or did you choose it?
A great question. It chose me. I
Okay.
certainly didn't plan on doing so.
Uh-huh.
I think I mentioned that, I really wasn't looking to jump into product manager HQ or this idea
Mm-hmm.
kind of intentionally, right? Like it was a lot more about, I'm currently working as a product manager. I'm really struggling with my day to day. How can I try to solve this pain for myself? And in doing so, I found that so many other people had this pain.
Mm-hmm.
And, that made me reflect back on, well, why did I study business? I studied business because it's a way to deliver a solution at scale sustainably over time, right? And so I said, okay, well, I guess it makes sense that we should try to turn this into an actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely did not, let's say, actively decide to become an entrepreneur. I think it very much just happened, but I'm really glad that it did and that we took that opportunity.
That's nice. So, according to you, what is a basic skill set required to start a business?
Yeah, great question. So, in terms of starting a business, right, I think really the most crucial skill set is to think about how do I create value for other people, right? Because the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, a business cannot exist without customers, and you can't attract customers if you're not creating something that they value, right? I think many times people think about, well, how can I earn a quick buck, right? Like how can I get some cash in my pocket? And that's not really the way that you create a business, right? Like the way that you create a business is you try to understand who is having challenges, what are those challenges, and how can I find a way to solve that, right? And once you are really focused on having that empathy of I really want to create value for someone, how do I do that for them? I
Mm-hmm.
think kind of a lot of the other let's say like hard skill sets kind of all fall into place, right? So for example, if you are trying to work through managing your cash flow, right? Like it's all about, well, I need to make sure that we're able to stay in business or else I can't keep creating value, right? So you'll naturally work through how do I make sure that I'm tracking the bills that are coming in and making sure that I'm accounting for my revenues, etc., right? Like if you're trying to think about like how do I market something, right? Like you don't need to explicitly, let's say, study marketing, but it's all about how do I help to get my value, this valuable thing out there to more people, right? And by really understanding the person that you're trying to help, that can kind of organically lead you down, how am I going to market this better? And
Mm-hmm.
so I would say it's almost not even a skill set, but more of a mindset of
Yeah.
I'm here to create value for other people. I'm not here to capture value. Once you really focus on how can I create that value, you'll naturally learn how to capture it so that way you kind of keep the business running sustainably so you can keep creating more of that value for others.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this year has been, a very difficult year, and previous year as well.
Yeah.
So people who are just starting out for newcomers, uh, how difficult would you say it is to start a business for them in 2021?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Mm.
So I would say that, you know, in terms of starting a business, right? Like, even though the situation right now is really difficult, right?
Yeah.
I think there has never been a better time to
Okay.
try to get something started. And the reason I
Mhm.
say that is because, all of us now have so much more free time. I guess like you can't really go outside anymore, right? Kind of you're always stuck at home. So we have all this time and kind of we're all learning how to work remotely or kind of, we have access to the internet. We expect more things to be done over the internet. And so, there are so many more ways to get an idea out there. And there are so many more audiences out there that would previously not have been receptive. They're
Mhm.
almost captive now, right? Like, because there's nothing else to do. And
Yeah.
so I think, you know, a lot of times, when there are these economic downturns, those are the companies that, when you create them during those downtimes, you can survive those downtimes. Those are the really successful ones, right? So I'd say, yes, it is difficult, especially if you currently don't have, a security net or safety net, right? Or you don't have disposable income. It can be really challenging. But the amount of value that you can create for other people right now is also at a maximum because everyone else is struggling right now too. And so if you can find a way to solve that pain for them, now is a really, really great time to go get that done, right? Because I think right now everyone is really focused on, oh my gosh, there's all of this pain in front of me in all of these different ways. Because we're all kind of in this, we're all kind of in this kind of gloomy era, kind of with the pandemic and, with being stuck at home. And so I
Mhm.
think now is a really great time to try to get something started because you'll be able to get a lot more of your idea validated or disvalidated so you can iterate faster on it.
Mhm.
And also it's it has never been a better time than now, just kind of given our ability to access all of these global audiences as well as global talent to help us bring these ideas to life.
Mm, definitely, definitely. I completely agree with you on that one, because almost everybody is online these days on a daily basis. So if you're starting something which, people can access online, then now would be a great time to do that. Definitely. And so when you were starting your own company, um, what were some of the hardships, or what were some of the hurdles that you faced?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think some of the challenges, I guess, was just really trying to understand, you know, who are we and what do we want to do, right? Because I think, there are always, how do I put this? There are always so many potential goals that you could chase as a company, right? Like there are always so many different ways that you could provide value. And it can be really distracting, right? It's like, should I double down on what I've currently got? Should I try to launch something that's totally new? Should I take that risk? And I think that was especially difficult early on, right? Like when we didn't necessarily have all of the infrastructure in place to keep Product Manager HQ running.
Mhm.
And so I think, in terms of, tackling that really difficult time of there are all of these potential opportunities that we could go after. Should we sacrifice what we've currently got to try to chase something new? Or should we kind of double down what we have? How do we balance all of that? I think one of the things that is really helpful is to reflect back on, why are you here, running this company? Why did you start this company? What was the thing that you really wanted to get done? And then to try to project out into the future, 5 years, 10 years, what would you be really, really proud of having done by that time frame? Because I think one of the things that can happen, right, is, you know, it has never been easier to try to measure a bunch of stuff, right? Like you can
Yeah.
measure, your followers on Instagram, right? Like you can measure, how many people are reacting to your posts on LinkedIn, right? Like you can measure all of these different things, and so you can feel like, oh, well, I want to optimize all of these metrics, and I think that can become a trap when you are optimizing metrics for optimizing metrics' sake. It
Mhm.
should be more about what is the pain that I want to solve in the world? What would I be really, really excited about having created that no one else had created, right? I think that kind of North Star vision is really important to adhere to as you think about, should I double down? Should I pivot? Should I explore something else? Because otherwise, kind of, if you're doing it just for the numbers, I think you quickly lose that energy and that motivation. I think one of the things that people don't really consider as they're going through entrepreneurship is it's not just the number of hours that you're pouring in, but it's the amount of energy that's associated with those hours, right? Like if you're not feeling very excited or passionate or motivated, then you're not going to get as much done in that hour than if you actually cared about what you were doing, right? And so I think, many times people will start something new, be very, very excited, right? And kind of pour in all this energy and see it grow really fast. And then they fall into the trap of it's growing so fast, we need to keep up this growth. And then they forget why they're doing it in the first place, right? They kind of focus on just the numbers and they burn out and they say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm quitting, right? And so I see so many, really great ideas have this really amazing burst phase and then kind of die off very quickly because I think the founders forgot to remind themselves, why am I doing this, right? And so I think it's really important to keep that in mind because, we definitely had to struggle through that desert, I guess, of
Yeah.
self-exploration. What is it that we're here to do? Why are we doing it?
Mhm.
And so being able to answer that question with directional confidence can really help to keep you on track and
Yeah,
keep you going. Yeah.
definitely.